morning, Las Vegas. This is Tina Drago with Healthy Las Vegas, coming to you live from K-Don Beasley Broadcast Studio A. Today I have with me Roseman University, Dr. Hunt, and Dr. Morganson. Tom Hunt and Bruce Morganson. So, you guys know me. I'm pretty informal. How you doing, Tom?
I'm doing great this morning. How about you, Tina?
Doing wonderful. And Bruce?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous. So, all the scuttlebutt. We have medical schools now coming to Las Vegas. And me personally, I love the fact that Roseman has not only had a great pharmacy school here and a nurse practitioner school not too far away, but now you're getting into having a wonderful medical school here, right?
Yes.
And where are you located?
Our campus is in Summerlin at 215 in Town Center, and we have 327,000 square feet there. That'll be the second Roseman University campus here in Las Vegas. Tina, as you may have known, Roseman University started here in Las Vegas in 1999.
I did not know that.
Yes, it started originally as a pharmacy school, and over the last 15 years, it has expanded into a pharmacy school, a nursing school. Here on the Henderson campus, we also have an orthodontics residency, an MBA program, and we also have a campus in Utah where we also have a pharmacy, nursing, and a dental program.
Those are wonderful. I do know about the pharmacy students because I get your students in my clinic doing rotations,
Yes.
and they are very efficient. They're very, I love having them because they ask the best questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're always looking at all the drugs, you know.
I think right now you have 3 hospitals in the city recruiting Roseman pharmacists to their hospitals.
Medication management's huge, especially with our senior population.
Absolutely.
When they come in with 25 different drugs, you know something's up.
That's correct.
So tell me about, forget about them. That's the old news. Tell me about the new school. Tell me what you guys have all planned out there.
Well, the leaders of Roseman University decided in 2010 that, given the great need for more doctors here in Nevada, and specifically Southern Nevada, that it was a good time to develop a medical school. Mm-hmm. And over the course of the last 5 years, everything's been put in place. Our dean, Mark Penn, was assigned to start up a medical school, I guess about 2 years ago.
Can I say nationally renowned?
Yes,
Dr.
he
Dean Mark
certainly
Penn?
is.
Yes.
He came to us from Ohio, where he was in a medical school that had started 25 years ago. So he's been involved with starting new medical schools and it comes with a very rich experience.
You know what I love about him, besides the fact that he's just a really cool guy and he's a great leader? He is all about community. He is all about making sure his schools are integrated in the community. How refreshing.
Yes. And his way of going about things and his vision for this school is what attracted me. I've been here in Nevada for almost 20 years and previously worked at another medical school and very excited to be a part of starting up a new medical school and addressing the needs of our community.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you are the professor and chair of the Department of Family Medicine.
That's correct.
So is family medicine going to be predominantly the medicine that's taught at this medical school?
Well, there is going to be a very strong emphasis on primary care. And, there are many specialties that
You're just saying that to get to me,
primary
right?
care. However, family medicine is really all-encompassing.
Pediatric to geriatric?
That's correct.
Everything in between?
I've delivered babies, and I'm certified in hospice and palliative care. So, yes,
Are you single?
done it all. Unfortunately, no, Tina.
Well, you're just an all-around, triple threat here. Dr. Morgenstern, tell me about your position at the school as the Associate Dean for Clinical Affairs.
The best thing about a startup school is that there's no such thing as a true title. So I'm given that, it's on my card, but basically I spend most of my time doing other duties as assigned. Probably the biggest portion of my job, though, is going out with Dr. Penn and trying to find the partners in the community that you were just talking about so that we can actually have really good places for our students to go to round out their education.
I love that. So he's our PR, he's our marketing, he's our get to know everybody in the community guy, and then he does all the contracts and make sure that we hold your feet to the fire and do what we promise.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That'd be sort of what I'm supposed to do.
He's more popular than that. Okay, so Dr. Morgenstern. I love that. I'm looking at the back of the cards, and it says patience in really bold lettering, right? But the P is in competence, the A is in compassion, the T is in integrity, I, diversity, E, respect, N is in communications, another T is in community, and then S is in discovery. Who came up with that?
This is Dr. Penn. And, when you look at this, and too bad we're on the radio because it is really something special.
Go to the website.
everything we do is centered around patients, and that's what this visual tells you. And one of the things that attracted me to Roseman, and as we go out and talk with members of the community, when we start to recruit students, everything that we will be looking for is people who this resonates with me. Obviously, in a medical school, you're going to need competent physicians to graduate.
Right.
And the Roseman model of education is quite unique and has never been done in medical education. And it is set up to deliver highly competent physicians to go out and practice in the 21st century. And, we could go through all of these. One of the things I'll mention is at the bottom is discovery. We have researchers who are working in the forefront of cancer research, neurodegenerative disease, obesity, and over time we're going to bring in more researchers to Southern Nevada.
And you are located at the Nevada Cancer Institute, right?
We actually are in the buildings from the old Nevada Cancer Institute, and Roseman University acquired them, and it's a great place to start a medical school, over 327,000 square feet.
If it doesn't instill learning in higher education, I don't know what does. It's great. Out in Summerlin. So we have a school in Summerlin.
That's right.
I love it. So tell me about the LENS program. This is different for medicine. This is a real neat approach to how to teach and how to get people in the community.
Yes, this is another unique part of our curriculum that really excited me and made me want to come to Roseman. It is the longitudinal experience in neighborhood service. Our students will be required to basically hook up with a local medical practice somewhere in the valley. They'll be going there approximately 2.5 days a month for 3 years. And during that time, they're going to start at the very beginnings, learning about the neighborhood. Who are the people that are served by this practice? Who lives in the neighborhood? What are the resources in the neighborhood? Places of worship, transportation, all of the things that sometimes we always don't think about, what makes a person healthy. And it's more than just going to the doctor or the nurse practitioner. It's really your community. A community is what makes you healthy or not healthy.
I have to agree 100%. We've talked about where there's no grocery stores.
Correct.
And where there's no parks, no areas for kids to go play and run.
Right. If it's not safe to go outside and play, well, you're probably going to have a lot higher levels of obesity in that neighborhood.
Exactly. So, no, I see that. That makes a lot of sense. And then it actually directly impacts how the doctors are going to take care of their patients down the line.
And the students will be really understanding the concept of the team approach to medicine. The days of the Marcus Welby where there was the solo physician with their bag and they took care of everything, are falling by the wayside. In today's environment, that doesn't work so well, though we do love house calls, don't get me wrong. But learning to work with nurse practitioners, PAs, medical assistants, nurses, respiratory therapists, the whole medical team, and all of us working together. One of the things that struck me when I moved to Nevada was very episodic care, very disjointed.
Yeah, we're very siloed here, aren't we?
Yeah.
And not really good at talking to our neighbors and our collaborating partners. I know at the clinic we work very closely with pharmacists and our specialists that we refer out to, but it's our pharmacists we found that have been able to help us the most with nutrition needs.
Right.
And medication management, of course. But when you think about it, it's obesity that they're actually having the largest impact on our patient population with.
Makes sense. Yeah, that's the hugest problem that we face, I think, in this country.
Yeah.
And another big push at Roseman is the concept of interprofessional education and having nurses, pharmacists, physicians. We are looking at developing a family nurse practitioner program as well, having everybody work together and having a clinic setting that is caring for patients, but in a different model where all of us work together. And it sounds very much like what you're doing, Tina, in your clinic.
We try. We're doing baby steps right now. We got the microcosm model that we're looking to grow, but it does make sense. You can't be everything to everybody, and if you're specialized or if you know something really well, then you should really trust the person that knows the other thing really well, too. So this is a great program, this LENS program, and it's 3 years?
It'll be 3 years, and the students are going to learn a lot about, what happens at the front desk. I think that it's important that when we look at our receptionists and the pressures they're under and how they need to multitask, having the students get an appreciation of that. How do patients present to your office? Are they just walking in off the street? Do they call in? How do we schedule? learning a little bit about insurances, because let's face it, what kind of insurance people have or no insurance at all really impacts how we're able to take care of patients, medications we choose.
I think that's refreshing that you're going to actually teach your doctors how to get paid.
Yeah. Well,
it's like one of those one credit courses at the end of medical school about there's a thing called insurance. You need to apply for it.
We were talking to a COO of another healthcare center here in town, and he said it just flabbergasts me that physicians come out of residency and have no idea about what you need to do to get paid in this industry.
And why that's important, and not to make light of the situation, is when you see a patient and they have, say, Aetna insurance or they have Medicaid, how you're going to take care of them. What resources they have, and what you have at your tools to be able to take care of them differ greatly. And you should know this as a provider, so you're not just prescribing stuff they can't fill, or asking for equipment that they can't get, or you have to really be creative and think out of the box.
Right. I mean, a simple example is a formulary. Every insurance company has a formulary. Drugs that they will let you have for $5, drugs that are going to cost you 2 arms and a leg to get.
Exactly.
Physician has to know which medications, because this may be the best medication ever, but if I can't afford it, I am not going to take it. And I'm not getting better, I'm getting worse.
Exactly. So, prescribing for the sake of prescribing without it being able to be filled. And a lot of people make choices. Pay the electric bill, fill their meds, eat, fill their meds. Yes. And so you have to make it easy on them to be able to be compliant patients as well. So we work with that a lot. I mean, that's a daily phone call between us and the pharmacy about meds.
I was reading an article yesterday about a homeless woman who came into the hospital, was having a heart attack. She went into the cath lab, had stents placed, $100,000 worth of care. She was discharged with a prescription for a drug that was mandatory in order to keep her healthy, a blood thinner. Well, she had no transportation. Yeah. She didn't have any money to pay for the drug. And so guess what happened? It all clotted up, and she ended up back in the hospital sicker than before. Instead of spending $100,000 on the back end, maybe we could have helped in a different way.
Yeah, on the front end where you actually help people, that we deal with that all the time. If you don't have transportation, we'll have your medication delivered to you.
So that's where we need to go in the 21st century, and we want to get those students who are interested in moving this way, because this is where healthcare is going.
Well, and the students who are interested in really making an impact on the community.
Absolutely.
I mean, I know you students are out there and you're thinking, I want to be a neurosurgeon. I want to be, a cardiovascular doctor. I want to be this. And that is phenomenal. And I give you guys all the kudos in the world for that. But if you can't sit down with your patient and figure out what needs to be done initially, which is family medicine. Everybody starts out someplace, right? Internal family. Correct. That's the foundation to being a doctor. And then you specialize.
I'm a big advocate for communication skills. Your physicians need to be able to sit down, understand where you're coming from and what your concerns are. And in this day and age, unfortunately, with the way doctors are currently paid, a lot of people complain they get 10 minutes with the doctor only. Yeah. We need to work on that part. But to make a physician the best they can be in medical school, they really need to learn the communication skills. They need to really understand the patient and where they're coming from. And that will be what we instill in our patients.
And to be honest, they could spend 10 minutes with you and get down to the nitty gritty. Patients out there in radio land, you also need to get to the point. So,
very true. Very true, Tina.
Sometimes there's a long walk in the park to get to the fact that, there's an issue.
Very true, Tina.
So we work on both sides of it. We also have, at the clinic, we have all of our established patients have a patient portal. So you can send long emails and messages to your provider. And if you want to take that long walk in the park, you can do that so that when the next time they see you, they have your backstory. So You have to look at those things as well. Technology is phenomenal. I'm loving it.
Yes. Now we have to get how we take care of patients and how we get paid for patients to catch up, which would probably be great fodder for another
Oh my
show.
Gosh. We could do like 3 or 4 shows on how to get paid. Mm-hmm. We did 3 shows on what Medicare is. So I absolutely think we could do one of that. And doctors need that. I mean, when you're coming out of medical school, you have lots of loans. And the banks have a whole program just to keep you guys more in debt and give you more loans to start your practices. They're so good.
Don't get me started.
Oh my God, those banks are wonderful. And but I have to tell you, if you're thinking about going into medicine and you're worried about the student loans and stuff, look for National Service Corps sites. in your area, and we have several here in Las Vegas,
Yes, we do.
and our clinic is one of them. And when you go work for an organization that is a National Service Corps site, your tuition actually gets paid for. They pay, I think, $30,000 a year, something like that.
When I got out of residency, I was a National Health Service Corps scholar, and I worked as the only physician in about a 20-mile radius in upstate New York, in an old building from the 1800s, which was a historic building, but was a very gratifying way to give back to the community and
Get the monkey off your back.
I strongly recommend that for those who go into medicine to look at those sites.
It's a great way, and it's usually in a much-needed area. And you can be in an urban area like Las Vegas, too. You don't have to be in the rural. But it's something to look at, and it can kind of diminish one of those reasons why you shouldn't go into medical school, right?
And, unfortunately, there are underserved areas throughout Nevada, both here in Las Vegas and everywhere. And that's one of the reasons why we need a new medical school or two new medical schools.
There's another one out there. You guys will be opening up at the same time, too,
Yes,
right?
we'll be opening up in the summer of 2017 if everything goes according to plan. We are just recently crossed a hurdle. We went from an applicant to the LCME, which is our accrediting body, to candidate status. We'll be having a site visit here in the first quarter of 2016. And if all goes according to plan and they like what we're doing, which I think they will, we will be getting our preliminary accreditation next year. And at that time, we'll be able to start recruiting students for the summer of 2017.
So you'll be matching when? Next summer or next fall?
Next summer, we'll start recruiting. And over the course of 9 months, we will start accepting students. So we'll be accepting applicants, if all goes according to plan, in about less than a year.
So why would a student choose Roseman over a state-based school program or going up to Reno? What would be the reasoning?
The interesting thing about the difference between private schools and state schools, the first of course is going to be that the tuition at a state school tends to be significantly less. But you just talked about ways to deal with tuition. I actually was a military scholar, so I went to medical school having all of my expenses paid by the Air Force and gave back 4 years to the Air Force once I graduated and completed my training. So there are all these options to cover the cost. Student loans, even though there's interest associated with them, are readily available, but cost is one big difference. What would make a student look at a place like Roseman, I think, is really going to be the culture of the institution. It's the reason Tom and I both were lured to this school. The dean, Dr. Penn, has this amazing vision about how we're going to do this education. We're following through with that Roseman model of mastery learning, but we also have that focus on patience that really speaks to things like respect and communication. And at the end of the day, I think what's going to lure a student to pick Roseman over any other school is the culture in Roseman. College of Dental Medicine in Utah began a program that we're hoping to also continue, which they refer to as lifelong colleagues. And I'm not sure for Tom, but certainly when I went to medical school last century, when you started the first...
I think we all went to school last century.
That's true. But that orientation session you got, one of the first days in medical school, some gruff old guy would come in and say, look to your left, look to your right. One of you is not going to be here at the time you graduate.
I got that at Marquette.
Yes.
That exact same thing. You mean they stole it from somebody else?
Yes, I think it's... But the fact of the matter is that's not going to be our approach. We may make an occasional mistake, and a student who gets admitted may not really be ideally suited to become a physician, but the odds are by the time they get through the rigorous undergraduate work that they do, and then the admissions process that all medical schools have, most admissions committees hardly ever make a mistake. So most of the people who get admitted to medical school have the ability and are really sort of reasonably placed. Our philosophy is going to help you to get you through school. We're going to expect a lot of you because of the mastery model. The performance bar is set extraordinarily high. But we're going to support you through it, and your classmates are going to support you through it. And I think when students learn about that model, that's the thing that's going to lure them to the school.
And our students are going to mirror what our values are. So we're really looking for diversity. We're looking for students with integrity. When we start looking for students, we're not ready yet. Respect, communication. Right. We're going to be looking for that skill set and those values in the students when we start recruiting. The good news for potential doctors in Southern Nevada and the whole Southwest region is there are going to be 2 new schools in this community, and we have such a huge need. We're going to find really high quality people. We're going to teach them well, and we're going to improve the health of all Nevadans over the next quarter century.
See, what I hear as a mom with students in college making their career choices is that you're not going to, that the the model isn't designed to stress and see if you can make it or break it type thing, and it's not a boot camp, but you're actually looking to cultivate really well-rounded people to serve the community.
Yes, as we build our curriculum, it is really built around coddling is too strong a word, but holding those students, walking them through, giving them permission to run. Community service is going to be a big, important part of our curriculum. We are developing something we call learning communities, where each of the students will be involved with a learning community that will be do service learning in the community too.
That sounds great. I'm looking forward to having the students in our clinic because we're a teaching clinic as it is. So we always have students in there, and you really get to see when they come from the first day to right before they leave us and they're running on their own. And it's always great to say that, you were part of that growth process.
Yes, and as a practicing physician, every time a student comes into my office, it pushes me to be better at what I do. It makes me say, what am I going to do today to really inspire this student? When they ask me those tough questions that I scratch my head and say, maybe I don't know the answer, it really pushes me to get the answer so the next day I can tell them the right way.
Tell them the right way?
I think the other thing we should point out, though, a lot of patients, when you just sort of hear that there might be a student physician in the office or helping to take care of you on a team in a hospital, think, oh no, I don't want a student, I don't want to be practiced on. This is not sort of a practicing model. This is students who have demonstrated that they can do things before they're sort of let loose on patients. But in fact, in every study that's been looked at, patients really like it when the students are involved.
Yeah.
After they get over their initial reluctance, they really, really like it because the students have things that physicians who are in practice don't have. They have time. They have an interesting intellectual curiosity that makes them pursue something that a patient may say that we're like, oh yeah, you file it away and you think, I'll get to it the next time the patient comes in. The students, because of the curiosity and the time, and to some degree the fact that they just haven't been doing it a long time, they don't know if what you said is important or not, so they pursue it a little bit. And those things make patients feel significantly more coddled is probably the right word. As patients.
They feel someone's listening to them. They feel they've been heard.
And they actually feel like the care was more comprehensive when students are there.
And for them, it wasn't cookie cutter.
No.
Right.
And that's important too. Every day I have patients go, I didn't know that people gave care like this. I didn't know that are you doing this special for me? I actually had somebody I knew come into our clinic for the first time last week, and they were like, oh, I just got special treatment because you know me. I'm like, no, they didn't know I knew you. This is the normal. This is what we do. Mm-hmm. and it is important. And the students are a great part of it. And I like to bring in the students always have like a fresh perspective. Yes. Because even though we have our providers take continuing education classes, throughout the year, and that's part of their job requirement, when you get a student in that comes in fresh with all these new ideas and maybe from a different part of the country and they did it different someplace else, it's always great to add that to the mix.
Absolutely. I have many patients who are disappointed when I walk in the door and there isn't a student with me or a student that precedes me.
Right. Once they've gotten used to it, exactly. They really want those students. And Tom
where's the rest of the guys?
Yeah. Tom pointed out another aspect I think that deserves emphasis. One of the worst risks for physicians as they become more experienced and set in their ways is that they become set in their ways. They become comfortable in what they know and what they do. And the students actually serve to just tweak that level of comfort just a little bit.
They stretch you.
Yeah, and it makes you raise your game. It makes you a better physician when you have students with you. And I think patients begin to recognize that. And that's what's really nice about the fact that in a few years, there'll be so many more medical students in the city of Las Vegas because I think it'll raise everybody's game.
That'll be awesome. So tell me, guys, okay, so we have Dr. Thomas Hunt and Dr. Bruce Morgenstern. I can't believe I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. Ugh, shame
it took
on
me years to learn how to say it.
If you're interested, if you'd like more information about Roseman University, should they call? Should they go online? Should they drop by? What should they do?
Well, in the short term, going online is probably the best bet.
Okay. At Roseman EDU, www.roseman.edu. Okay.
Yes, we are as every institution probably in the United States, we're in the middle of revising our website for the College of Medicine and for Roseman University of Health Sciences as a large group. So if you look at the website today and you're underwhelmed, come back and look at it in a few months and it'll look radically different and there'll be significantly more information about the medical school. As Tom pointed out, though, we're not yet accredited enough to the point that we can really entertain student applicants. So if you're a potential student, you can look at our website and read things, but there'll be no way that we can deal with an inquiry about becoming a student at Roseman.
Wow,
just
that was
Stay
a
tuned.
That was a tease.
Stay tuned.
No,
Okay,
there are certain things that, we have an accrediting body,
Right.
and there are certain hard and fast rules, and one of their hard and fast rules is until they say you can recruit students, you cannot recruit students.
And that we can respect and appreciate. So we'll have to have you guys back on, like in June or July of next summer. Next summer.
Yeah, and for all your listeners out there who are thinking about a career in the medical field, whether it's nursing or pharmacy or dentistry or medicine in the future, stay tuned. And yes, please look at our website. And it's a wonderful field, as you know, Tina.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.